BeastNet is brought to you by James Safety Services in partnership with OCR Buddy and OCR Strong. Here we discuss all things OCR and fitness related. Welcome to BeastNet.
Hey everybody, Mike with BeastNet here, and today I've got with me Jessica Thompson. Jessica, let the listeners know real quick who you are.
I'm Jessica Thompson from Charlotte, North Carolina. I am a cancer survivor. I run OCR races with team More Heart Than Scars. I actually just got back running solo from Montana this past weekend. Just kind of living life one day at a time right now. So
very that's amazing. Now, you just did Montana solo. How was that? Because usually this is one of the first years I really missed Montana. I usually go to Montana, but this year I was like, I chose to do a different race instead. So how was it?
It was my first mountain race, so it was definitely an experience. My body wasn't ready for it, but my mindset otherwise. I definitely had to really push myself. By the end of the super, I was really questioning whether or not I had enough to get through the sprint. I did all three races this weekend, but yes, I pushed through, got the sprint done, and it was quite an accomplishment.
That is brutal. I did the trifecta weekend in Montana last year.
Mm-hmm.
And that was brutal. So, but I did my own pain on that one because somebody was stupid and told me they didn't think I can do an entire trifecta wearing a 20-pound ruck. So,
oh my.
So I chose Montana as the one that, oh yeah, that'll be no problem. Yeah, that was a dumb choice. I don't wish that on anyone. Don't ever do that. It was not fun. So I did the obstacles with the rock on too, which made it even more.
Oh my gosh. I can only imagine.
Yeah, I like stupid challenges. So we all love More Heart Than Scars. We all have you've done races with More Heart Than Scars.
Yes.
Now, you said you're a cancer survivor. Do you have any lasting effects after that have made it more difficult for you to be able to do Spartans?
It has. So like, because I went through immunotherapy, which it's a kind of chemo, but it's not chemo, but it has similar side effects. So it kind of beats your body down. And through that whole treatment stuff, obviously, not being able to do anything, I've gained a little bit of weight, and not being able to physically do anything without feeling sick, really put a damper on my body. So it made it really rough. So trying to get like my endurance stuff back. I'm just now, after 2 years of being off of treatment, I'm just now starting to get my strength back. I'm starting to build my endurance back up, but like I still every once in a while still feel sick. The weather still plays a factor in it. If it's too hot, I got to make sure I get to a cool place. So it's still, there are still side effects there, but I mean, for cancer treatment, you're never going to feel the same. It's how it works. I'm never going to feel 100%, not like I was, but I can push very close to trying. That's about all I can do.
Well, I mean, it's amazing though. I mean, to be able to come back from something like that, that's kind of why I ask. 'Cause I know a lot of people, I think people forget that they think that all of a sudden, you're like, everyone's like, I'm a cancer survivor. And they think that once someone comes back from that they're 100%, they're back to who they were before. And I mean, you put it right on the head there, where you're like, yeah, you're never going to be what you were before. There's always going to be some side effects left over from whether it be chemo or, like you said, immunotherapy or whatever. There's going to be something done to your body that you're never going to fully get back.
Right.
Now, are you immunocompromised because of the immunotherapy?
Yeah.
So that, I mean, and that's a whole nother avenue on top of that, where, being immunocompromised. I mean, we heard that a lot during COVID and everything like that. But even with, Spartan races, stuff like that, there's things you got to think about, with the dunk walls and everything else,
Hmm.
where you are touching things that other people touch. You are going into that water. It's like I always tell everyone,
Hmm.
we don't need the vaccine. We went through a dunk wall. We've been exposed to all of it, you know. But I mean, and it gives you a whole different, things to worry about. So
Hmm.
how do you deal with all that? How do you deal with that mentally and physically to be ready for all the extras, things that you have to worry about, that I guess a
Um,
quote unquote healthy person wouldn't have to.
I mean, I know COVID was a big thing. And I kind of just put it in the back of my head. Just kind of try to live life like a regular person. Now, like my immune system's kind of boosted a little more than everybody else's because of it. I
Mhm.
mean, yeah, I feel sick, but my body's fighting a little bit harder just because of it. But it doesn't make me any more immune to getting it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I still have to take precautions and stuff. When I was getting treatments, I had to get tested every month. I had to get the swab up the nose every month before I got my treatment, and it was awful.
Not bad.
So yeah. So when that was done, I was so glad I had to do that. But like during the whole COVID thing, I didn't leave the house. I didn't go out and do anything. I was a homebody. I stayed home and just kept to myself because that was, in my mind, the smartest thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I kind of watched for myself. I think everyone, I did go to the gym like once or twice. Kind of when it died down a little bit,
Yeah.
but so I stayed home most of the time. Kind of did just like at home stuff. Kind of just avoided the crowds, and it was so much easier that way than trying to constantly fight. And so I had issues wearing the mask and stuff all the time. Like I was constantly getting headaches. Like even now, with hospitals and doctors' offices, you still have to wear the mask.
Mhm.
I can't wear a mask for longer than an hour because I'll start getting severe headaches.
Yeah.
So it's like I got to try to be in and out as quick as possible.
Yeah, and that's one of those things, I mean, I think that was the toughest part about COVID for a lot of people, is being inside and not being able to go out and do
Hmm.
the workouts and the OCRs and everything that we used to do. And I got lucky doing it. I was running like mad. I've actually had issues since, because I got sick in December and I've had issues with my lungs ever since. So, and I've been having issues trying to get back to where I was prior to that.
Hmm.
Um, it is tough when you can't get out and do the stuff, and you can't get out and do all this stuff, and all your motivation is
Hmm.
tough, because it's like, oh, my motivation is going out with my friends and doing that. And now all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm at home. I could go out to the garage and run in the treadmill, or I could sit here and eat more potato chips and watch TV.
Right.
That becomes the hard part about it. So you did Montana, which, like I said, that is a brutal one. That is hills for days. I tell everyone the hardest thing about Montana is there's so many times it feels like you just keep going up and up and up, and then somehow you end up back at the festival, and you're like, I don't remember going down as much as I went up. How does this work?
Down was just as bad as going up.
There's a few of those. There's a few of them. There's one hill, and I every year there's a hill, and they always put it in there, and I call it the FU Steve Hill, because Steve Hammond usually sets it up, and it's like this huge, just you go straight up the side of the mountain.
It's never ending. It's like the second largest hill.
Yep, it's just never ending, and then you think it's gonna end, and then you come over the top, and you realize you're like at the halfway point, and you're like,
right.
and that's when you say "F you, Steve," and then you keep going up because Hammond's the one that sets it up. Then you get to the top, and then you just turn around and come back. There was no point to this but to go up the hill.
Yeah. So anybody who did the sprint lucked out because they didn't have to do that. So
And
they
that's
didn't
how-
get to experience that.
Yeah, that's how it was. Last year there was the Beast and the Super both had it, and then the sprint. They're like, this isn't on the sprint, and I'm like, yes,
Yes, I said the same thing. I was like, I don't think I could run this hill for the third time. My
you
legs
would've.
about had it. I
But
would have,
you-
yes, but even
But
if
you
I had
would-
to crawl, I would have gone up the hill one way or another.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that one was brutal. So how many have you done? How many Spartans have you done now?
Total,
Mhm.
I think I'm up to, after this weekend, maybe 27 total Spartans.
Nice. Now, did you do Spartans before the cancer diagnosis, or was it something that started out?
So before the cancer diagnosis, I had only run 3. I had done 1 trifecta prior to the cancer diagnosis. Which was funny because before that, my first experience with Spartan was actually really bad. Because I had lived in Pittsburgh, and I was doing, well, they were considered the Ohio or Pittsburgh, Ohio. So that was, I believe it's 2018.
Mhm.
And that venue was moved like 3 times. So the first one wasn't bad, it was the Beast. It was the second 2, was the Sprint and the Super. So when they moved the venue, it was the Super and Sprint, and it was just multiple laps over and over. So the Super was 5 laps, and the Sprint was 3 laps.
Yeah.
And at the end of that, I was like, I'm never running a Spartan again.
I could see that.
And yeah, and then I've run Savages. Savage is probably by far my favorite. I've always had a love for the Savage race. My very first race was actually the Run for Your Life zombie run.
Nice.
That's actually what started it. Because I have a huge obsession with zombies. So I did that one, and then it led, okay, I'm going to try another obstacle course race, which led to Savage, which was, I believe, was also 2018, maybe 2017, which was Mad River Mountain in Ohio, in Zanesville.
Nice.
Of course, another mountain. So I have a thing with mountains, apparently.
Mountains
but
are fun.
yeah. But I mean, that's where I fell in love with OCR. But
Yeah,
Spartan just has more to offer when it comes to earning stuff.
Yeah.
You have more to achieve with Spartan.
That's so true. I mean, you do. And I mean, it's one of the things that it's really tough for like us over here on the West Coast, because for whatever reason, we don't have Savage, we don't have Epic, we don't have any of those. We keep hoping for some. I'm hopefully moving farther east so that I can get closer to some of them. But that's one of the big problems we have up here. And then even this, I was just commenting the other day that I noticed Spartan and Tough Mudder are on the same weekend and up here in Washington. It's like they put them, one of them, but they're like 3 hours away from each other. And it's like you get so few up here, and then you put them on the same weekend, like 3 at one in Seattle, one in Portland. Oh, you're killing me. But yeah, so it's quite interesting. We don't get a whole lot over here. So it's always, I get jealous when I hear everyone talking about all the races they have over there. And I'm like, oh, we need more here. Yeah. So your love of zombies, you would love my tattoo then. My entire left calf is a huge zombie eating a microphone.
Oh, nice.
Because when I used to game all the time, when I was a gamer, my name was Zombie. That was my
okay.
And then when I started doing comedy and and podcasts, I put the two together and had a big zombie eating a microphone.
I just finished my home gym, and my whole home gym is zombie themed.
Nice. So
I don't leave my basement now. I don't leave my gym. That's where I hang out now.
Yeah, my gym's out in the garage. So I during COVID, I ended up acquiring a whole bunch of stuff and just built an entire gym because I'm like, I need to be able to work out. I built a bunch of random stuff myself too, made my own medicine balls, all that kind of stuff. So just popped a soccer ball and a basketball and filled them with sand and then duct taped them.
Hey, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Do you like the BeastNet? Do you want to keep hearing it? Be sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and more at BeastNetPod.
So kind of, I mean, if I get too personal, just let me know. But I just with the cancer diagnosis and everything else and going through that, did you continue to train through that, or was it one of those things like you went through everything and then started training once you were, or how? I mean, like I said, it's a very personal question. If I get too personal, let me know. I just kind of wondering, how did you come out of that? I know you said you know, 2 months
So
after.
when I was first diagnosed, like it didn't phase me right off the bat. Um, like they had done the biopsy and whatnot, and then the surgery. So it didn't really like kick in like that this is happening till I started going through the treatments. Because obviously, after the surgery, I kind of had to slow down a little bit
Hmm.
because I couldn't do like your basic workouts. I had to watch what I do. Um, so because I actually got yelled at for doing too much because I have a habit of doing that, going through a surgery and then doing stuff I'm not supposed to.
Yeah.
um, but once the treatments and stuff started, I was fine, like the first one, and then after like the next one, I started to feel it. I did try to keep working through it, but as I progressed through like the treatments as I kept going, I kept feeling worse. Like I would go for walks. I try to lift weights here and there. But sometimes if I do too much, I would get overheated
Hmm.
and I get dizzy and I'd have to stop and sit down. So it was very, very minimal. And there's just days where like I wanted to do something, but I just couldn't pull myself up to do anything. It was just like I just want to sleep, but that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that was it was very hard because like I wanted to do something and I couldn't. And when it really sucked because before moving, because this is right after we moved to Charlotte,
Oh, wow.
um, and I had just dropped literally like 35 pounds. I was the healthiest I've ever been, and then all this just dropped on me, and then you know it's just one thing after another. And then when you're so used to being in a routine and then it just comes to a sudden stop, it puts you in a really bad place. Because I was beating myself up because I couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I wanted to do it, but I couldn't do it. And my workout space was so limited, it made it even harder. So I mean I tried. It was just a very, very tough process. It was tough to pull myself out of that funk and at least even try.
Yeah.
So if anything, I tried to at least go for a walk to get fresh air, but even some days that was hard. But through all this, I was working 12, 14-hour days at work. So
Wow.
I'm trying to work, yeah, and I work in a warehouse. So I was loading trucks and trying to do some sort of workout, trying to do something.
Mhm.
And it wasn't working. Like I was so sick all the time. I mean, it came to a point like there was a couple times I went home from work with a headache. Um, I was sent home. Well, I wasn't sent home, but I went home. They told me if I had a headache that was behind my eyes, I needed to go home.
Yeah.
Um, so they ended up sending me for a brain MRI, which everything came back clear on that. So there was another day, it was like the end of my shift, and I was telling them, I was like, my chest was starting to hurt. And, I just kind of wanted to finish my shift. I was like, can we hurry up? And they're like, well, we got to finish this. I was like, well, my chest is hurting. I was like, I just want to let you know this. I called my doctor the next morning and she's like, no, she goes, you should have went home. She goes, you could have gone into cardiac arrest. I was like, what? I was like, I didn't know this. I just figured it was like some sort of heartburn or
Yeah.
whatever. She goes, no. She goes, you should have gone to the ER. She goes, how are you feeling now? It's like, I'm fine today. She goes, well, next time you need to go to the emergency room like right away.
Yeah.
So like every little thing I had to watch. And it was a good thing, like my supervisor, like he sincerely cared. Like you don't get too many supervisors or any like leadership at work that actually care. They're just like, you got to get the job done, you got to go.
Yeah.
And he sincerely like cared. He was always checking in on me and, you know, constantly, you know, sitting down and talking with me, making sure I was okay. And so that was a huge help to get me through my shifts because it was hard. And to have people constantly coming up to you every day, um, trying to tell you how you should feel, that I couldn't tell you how many times that I was ready to snap on some people, um, because they would tell me, well, you need to take your vitamins, you need to do this, you need to do that, you need to do this. And I would come in and say, I'm tired. Well, sleep's overrated, this and that. And I was like, listen, you guys need to quit telling me how I should feel or tell me what I need to do. I was like, I'm about done with this. I was like, you do not understand what I'm going through. I was like, till you're in my shoes, you need to keep your mouth shut. Like I was at my breaking point. Like I kept my mouth shut for a while. And it was just to that point where I was just starting to snap on everybody. And people were just like looking at me like, whoa, calm down. I was like, no, there is no calming down. I was like, you're not understanding my situation. You don't know what I'm going through. I was like, you need to think before you talk. And, you know, people don't think about that. They don't understand.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine. I couldn't at all. It's one of those things. I'll be honest. I've had this argument with my wife before where I've told her if I was ever sick, no one would know.
Right.
And she's like, why? Why wouldn't you want? And I'm like, because they treat you differently and people don't know how to shut up.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds bad to say that, but like listening to your story, I'm like, there's why, is because it is so tough. Because you're in your head and you know
Mm-hmm.
what's going on. And then you have everyone going, hey, this is how you should feel. And this is what you should do. And you're like,
Right.
no, you're not in my shoes. You're not me. Back up. And that's the hardest. I mean, I grew up, some people know as a kid I had really severe asthma, and it was one of those things I can remember even as a kid having everyone telling me, oh, this is what you should do for the asthma, and this is what you should do, and you should do that. I'm like, I have doctors, I have my medicine, piss off. I mean, but you can't really say that, and it's so tough. And I mean, it's so, I mean, to hear you explain it, and it's just like, oh, I wasn't at the level you were, but I mean, I can understand a piece of that. I can understand a little bit of how frustrating that had to have been,
Yeah, well, I had some of the people there. I mean, they were getting mad because I wasn't doing certain things. So my supervisor would explain the precepts. Hey, she can't do this for this reason. If there's an issue, you can come talk to me.
Yeah.
And this was stressed so much, like, because like I work on in a grocery warehouse. So there's a cold side and there's a dry side. So going from one temperature to another really messed with me.
Oh, I bet.
So it was I told him, I was like, either start on one side or I start on the other. I was like, I can't jump back and forth. And like I was going through a number of things at the time. Like I ended up in the midst of all this, I ended up with plantar fasciitis. I was out with 2 months for that. And I came back and I worked, I think like my first week back, I worked like half days because I just wanted to see how I felt. I was feeling pretty good. The temperature wasn't bothering me. I was going back and forth. And so I went back for my first full week. And at one point I was like, okay, I can't do this job anymore. It's like, it's just too much. Like just physically, it's too much. And I should have said this, like it was almost a year, almost the end of my treatments, and I'm still working the same job. I pushed through the whole treatment doing the same job.
Wow.
And finally, I applied for a different position in the warehouse, and it was like literally my final week, and one of the leads was just giving me a bunch of shit. and he was starting to write me up because I wasn't doing something he wanted, but it was already said that I can't do certain things. I've tried to do them, but he was just on my case. So I went to the supervisor. I flipped out, and then to find out a week later, they ended up firing him. So if he got fired because of me, well, you need to learn to talk to your people and understand what's going on. You can't treat people like that. And he knew my situation. He knew what was going on. And because he said to me, he goes, well, you said last week you were fine. I was like, that was last week. I was like, do you not understand? I'm a day to day. I can't tell you that I'm fine today and not be okay tomorrow. It's not how it works.
No. Especially
Like,
going through all this stuff you're putting into your body, everything else that you're supposed to be doing that to fix, everything. It takes a toll. And I mean, some days you're going to have better days than others. And I mean, I can't believe people don't understand that sometimes. It's like one of those things, I hear this and I'm like, how did you get into a lead position and not understand how to deal with people?
Now, my intention was never to get him fired.
No.
I just wanted him off my back. But I mean, if that's what it came to, I don't know if something else happened other than him talking to me the way he did. But I mean, he knew the situation. Everybody knew the situation. I mean, even today, I still have my good days and bad days. I have the strength. I can push through it now compared to a year ago, where it was more I had to literally force myself. It's either I had to just lay down and just take the day, or I take 10 minutes, see what I could do, or just call it. I couldn't, it was like, it was a 50-50, I guess.
Yeah, I could imagine. I mean, and it's one of those things too, when you talk about, like in the beginning, you talk about how hard it was to work out and everything, but then you're like, oh yeah, and by the way, I was working 12-hour days on top of it. It's like, no kidding. I mean, it's probably why it was hard to work out. I mean, you're going through all that, you're putting your body through it, and then it's got to be tough to even go through those 12-hour days like you're mentioning. I mean, I'm sure there's things, anybody who's ever worked in a warehouse, it's brutal. I mean, it's a lot of heavy lifting, usually a lot of stuff like that. Like you mentioned, going into, I worked years, got a mold like a long time ago at Domino's Pizza in their warehouse. And I had to go in and out of the coolers all the time. And even being healthy, having my body regulate that temperature back and forth, between the coolers. I can remember in the hot days, you'd get nosebleeds.
Yeah.
Going in and out of the cold and into the hot on the warehouse would be like, because it's, no air conditioning in the warehouse. The warehouse is like almost 100 degrees. And then you walk into a 30-degree cooler and back out.
Yeah.
And it's on your nose, just like, and I couldn't imagine what it would be like if my body was, because I know usually when you have those kind of things, it becomes hard to regulate body temperature, and going in and out of those coolers and everything like that. I mean, I couldn't even imagine at all. And the one thing you were talking about, like with the heart issue, that's one thing that, because I teach CPR. So surprising that CPR classes don't talk about this. I only know it from talking to females about it and stuff, that the symptoms for like a heart attack and anything like that for women is heartburn. It's like heartburn and maybe like pain, a little bit of pain in the back. The symptoms for women is so minute. And that's like, when you were explaining that, I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, that's harder. That's so it's like, any women out there that are listening, remember that like, look it up. I mean, it's one of those things. Every first aid class, I've never seen it mentioned, but then all of a sudden, like someone mentioned it to me one day and I looked it up and I'm like, oh yeah. It says women pretty much heartburn. That's it, and it's like, oh, that's scary.
It's very scary, especially when they tell you the next day, oh, you should have been in the ER.
You should have. I had a friend in one of my classes who told me that she had gone like to lunch and came back and noticed heartburn, and she's like, oh, well, that's weird. Took a couple times, wouldn't go away, and then like an hour later, all of a sudden her Fitbit just went nuts and said that she was like in cardio zone, and she's like, I'm sitting at my desk not doing anything, and her boss had known and heard that, and she's like, go to the ER now. and she went to the ER, and yeah, she was in the middle of a heart attack. They're like, oh yeah, you're having a heart attack. So don't play with those heart issues.
And now, a word from our sponsors.
Does your business need first aid, AED, OSHA, flagging, or other safety training? James Safety Services is your one-stop shop. Find them on Facebook today at James Safety Services WA and ask for a quote on hosting your training needs.
And we're back.
So you said you've done a couple with More Heart Than Scars. What are your plans coming up? What races how are you going to push yourself to keep going? And I mean, that's got to be the hardest part. Like you said, you're still not 100%. So, doing Montana, which by the way, kudos, because that is, out of all the races I've done, Montana and Hawaii, which a lot of people are surprised to hear that, are the two worst beasts I've ever done.
That's good to know, because Hawaii is on my list.
Hawaii will take that hill that you went up, the one that I said the FU steep, but make that like 2 miles long, and with like where you literally are pulling yourself up the hill.
Nice.
So it becomes a single track that is just brutal, but I go back every year because I love it. It's gorgeous, but then all of a sudden you do the super and the sprint, and they're like the easiest super and sprints I've ever done, because they take that, the worst part of it is taken out. The beast is the only one with that. But it's one of those ones like Montana where you're half dead and you're like, this is stupid. And then you walk around a corner and all of a sudden you get this view and you're like, oh my God. You're like, I have died and this is heaven, because it is just amazing views. So yeah.
But this coming weekend, I'm doing my first ultra.
Oh.
Right in
I think
Fayetteville.
Boggs is doing that because he's
insane.
But
he is also doing that. I will see him this coming weekend.
Smack him upside the head for me at least twice.
Absolutely. But yeah, it's my first ultrafecta weekend. I am doing the whole weekend.
I say me and Boggs have known each other since preschool, so slap him upside the head.
I'll get him a couple times over the weekend, I promise.
Right. So this is gonna be your first. Have you done an ultra at all?
No.
Okay, so your first ultra, you're going for it and going for the whole weekend. That
absolutely
is amazing. I've thought about it. I've done an ultra. I did an ultra last year. I did Dallas. And Dallas was flat, easy. Just, I mean, it was a great ultra, but I also did have a broken rib when I did it because I'm stupid and don't know when to stop. But but it's amazing to hear that you're going to do an ultra factor for your first time. And I'm not sure what's the elevation. Is Fayetteville?
I'm not sure. They came out with the map today, so I didn't actually look at it yet.
I mean, North Carolina, a hill in North Carolina is like, nothing last time I was there.
Fayetteville is, I hear it's a lot flatter. But if you go to Asheville, there's some hills.
I've only been in North Carolina. I've been to Camp Lejeune. So pretty much from the airport to Camp Lejeune. And I'm like, they're like, look at the mountain. I'm like, what mountain? That's a small hill. What are you talking about? So,
but yeah, this is my the first ultra. More Heart and Scars did want me to do it with them because Erica Bogan is also doing the ultra this weekend. But this is more of a me versus me. Because like I said, I kind of went solo this past weekend, so I kind of want to challenge myself to see what I can do without the team, kind of push myself. Just more or less, this is more about challenging me to see what I can take as fast as get there through as fast as I can and do as much as I can. Kind of pushing my limits, I guess, so to speak. Because this is definitely the biggest race post cancer, so it's definitely gonna be a big one.
and that's one of the things, because for a lot of times I did a lot of races with teams and everything else for years, and a lot of people are surprised when coming out of COVID I started signing up for competitive waves and everything. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I need to challenge myself. I need to see what I can do. So sometimes you have to have that, like, just step back from the team and say, I need a me versus me weekend. And I think that's amazing that you're taking it, because I mean, it's just sometimes you just need that, like, what can I do if I just take everything out where I don't have somebody there, I don't have my I don't want to say my crutch, but you know what I mean. My teammates there to help me if there's a problem. It's just me versus the obstacles. What can I do? And that was when I coming out of COVID, that was pretty much my thought on everything. Almost every race I did, except for a couple, like I did Seattle with a group of friends. I did Montana because, well, I was stupid and had a rock and did it with friends. But I did Vegas by myself, competitive wave. Went to Dallas by myself. I ended up making friends on the ultra, and we ended up finishing together and doing it together. But it was still, I went with nobody. I had one friend that was with us, and I knew he was going to take off as soon as I said go.
Yeah.
So just me versus me. And I that's amazing that you're going for that, because I mean, you accomplished so much already, coming out of, most people, and everybody's different. Everybody's different. Everyone has their own safe. Everyone has their own happy place. But a lot of people that come out of something like you did take it safe afterwards. I've seen it go two different ways. Normally it's either like they take it safe because, oh, I made it, I want to make sure I have a long life, everything else. And the other one's like, I almost died and I've got nothing to like write home about. Let's see what I can do, and all of a sudden it's like they're doing every crazy thing they can think of. And, it's amazing to see someone say, okay, I need to live.
I like the punishment, apparently.
We all do. Yeah, it's amazing to see that. Just, get out there and live. And I mean, make sure, we only get one life. So we got to have fun with it. I mean, it's, one of those things, like I always tell everyone, I always love that saying where, I don't want to, when I die, I don't want to go to my grave with a nice pristine. I want my body to be wrecked when I'm done. So I'm going to put it through everything and beat it up as bad as I can before, I want to be together by duct tape and a prayer by the time I'm done with this thing.
Yeah, so I do this weekend, and then going into June, I get to take my brother on his first OCR. He has never done, well, he did the zombie run with me years ago, but he's never done an actual OCR race. So I am taking him to where my first race was, back to Mad River Run, the Mad River Mountain, Savage, and I'm going to give him a real eye-opener.
Nice.
So we got a nice dinner on the line. He claims he's going to beat me in the obstacles. He has done nothing to train. So there's been a lot of shit talking going on.
That's the way to do it.
But I keep asking him if he's working extra hours, because I'm going to have a nice dinner after this race. So
nice. That's the way to do it. I couldn't get any of my siblings to do it. I've been able to get a couple of my nieces to do it, but never any of my siblings. They're like, yeah, no, you're out your mind. But
yeah, he told me, he's like, he goes, I just can't get motivated. He goes, my medication, all that's changing. And he goes, I can't. He goes, but thank you for getting me out on the course. He goes, even though it hasn't happened yet, he goes, thank you for getting me out. Yeah. So that's still something.
sometimes people just need a push. And, it's one of those things that sometimes they just need that push. And I mean, they may love it and they may hate it. I mean, I had one niece that just loved it, and another one's like, this was stupid, but
yeah, that's what I told him. I was like, this might be what you need to get you going. I was like, it took one OCR race and I was addicted. I was like, and I haven't quit since. I was like, this is my getaway. I was like, my husband might not do them all with me. I was like, but I still go out and do them because this is what I need.
Yep. And see, that's one thing my wife won't do them at all. She's like, nope. But we have an agreement that if I get to travel for OCR races, she gets vacations. So that's why most of the OCRs I do are Hawaii, Texas. She wants to do Florida, and it's like, everyone's like, why do you pick these ones? I'm like, because they're all vacation spots that my wife can go on vacation. Why? And I get to do our Spartan races. So that was the agreement we came up with. So if I get to travel for the race, he gets a vacation. So
that works. Well, I convinced my husband to do Hawaii with me.
Nice.
So, and it's his first Spartans. So he's never done Spartan.
Oh.
He's done Savage, but he's never done Spartan.
Are you doing Hawaii this year?
Yes.
Oh.
In August. He's doing the whole weekend. Yep.
I will be there. I wasn't going to, but now another one of my trips got canceled. So Hawaii got added. So the second my wife's like, wait, you
Nice.
don't have to go on this trip. And I'm like, no, she's like, Hawaii it is. And I'm like, okay. So, which is going to be interesting because I'm doing the Seattle trifecta.
Okay. It
And
was
then,
week before, isn't it?
yes. So I'm doing the Seattle trifecta. Then Wednesday flying out for Hawaii right after doing
Oh.
Seattle to do the Hawaii trifecta the very next weekend. So that's going to be brutal.
I was going to follow up with West Virginia, but my husband told me no. So, which I understand because we just spent a buttload on Hawaii. So,
yeah, I'm doing that and then kind of taking a break for a couple weeks because then I'm doing the half Ironman in Seattle in September.
Okay.
So, which is going to be amazing, I hope. I hope. So, but that's my new thing this year is I'm still doing the OCR, but now I'm challenging myself with something else and doing the trifectas, which are no, the triathlons, which by the way, triathlons a lot more expensive.
Really?
Just the bike.
Oh my gosh.
I got lucky. I got one. My father-in-law found one. It's like a $3,000 bike and he paid $10 for it at a garage sale. And it cost me $300 to get it tuned up. But I'm looking at some of those people like, you got to get this bike or this bike. And I'm like, that bike costs more than my first 5 cars put together. I mean, no, it's crazy. So, but so that's awesome that you got your husband to do it. So, and it'll be cool. Hopefully I'll be able to meet you in Hawaii, in person. So I'll be there. I would say when you're there, go to Hawaii Spartan Ohana.
Okay.
Look up that group. They are the most amazing group in Hawaii. That's who I race with every time I'm in Hawaii is the Hawaiian Spartan Ohana. So I think I friend requested you while we were talking, so I can add you to the group too. If you, accept me as a friend, I'll add you to the Hawaii.
All right.
Hawaii group. They're an amazing group of people. I love, they are definitely my people when I'm over there. So they're amazing. So yeah. I keep trying to get more Heart Than Scars out to this side, of the country so that because I've yet to race with them.
Yeah, they are working on it. I know they are doing the 5K virtual run. Yep. They're trying to raise money to get out that way. So I know they've been sharing it like crazy, trying to get people to sign up. So, which
anybody who's listening to this, if you haven't signed up for it, go. Do it.
Yes, absolutely.
Dawn, put a link into the thing. So he'll listen to it. He'll know. He'll do it. Hopefully he's putting him into everything. So, which reminds me, right after this, I need to go sign up for that. It's amazing. I love More Heart Than Scars. I love seeing everything they do. I mean, they're such an amazing group. They're so helpful to everyone, which a lot of people, anyone that listens to BeastNet from the very beginning, which gosh, it's been 5 years now or something crazy. I don't remember. I started it, but I don't remember any of that. But it's we've always been about helping. We've always been about helping. And when Dawn, partnered up with More Heart Than Scars, I was like, who are these people? But once I got to know Joey and Zach and everybody else, which unfortunately I've never met any of them in person, but just seeing what they do and what they stand for and what More Heart Than Scars is, I'm like, yes, these are our people. These are the people that we need to align ourselves with because they're amazing. To see them help people. And because like I said, that's always been one of my visions. I can remember a race I did with friends where we had this, we're like, we're going to do this super in this amount of time. We're going to finish in blah, blah, blah. And about 3/4 of the way through the race, we came across a girl that was having major issues. I mean, she was ready to quit. And without even saying a word, the three of us looked at each other and the whole idea of finishing by whatever time was out the window. And we're like, this girl's finishing this race. And we just stopped and helped her through the entire thing. And she's looking at us like, why are you doing this? And I'm like, because you needed help. Well, what do you mean? Why? So, and that's why I love More Heart Than Scars, because they don't ask why. They're just like, you need help. All right, let's do it. And those are the people that I love. So
yeah, any of them, you catch them running solo, they'll stop and they'll help you no matter what. It's not just about them, and they're out there to help everybody.
Yeah.
Just this past weekend in Montana, I was actually finishing up the sprint. And there's actually a special needs girl. She was trying to get up the slip wall. Somebody was behind her trying to help her get up. And I normally don't do the slip wall. I always usually walk by it. Usually I'm with the team, but this weekend, all 3 times I went up it, but I went up it one last time, seen her struggling. I thought about going down. I turned around. I held my hand out, I was like, hey, give me your hand. I was like, throw your leg up here. We're gonna get you up here. She got up there. She's like, oh my God, that was so hard. Thank you. Gave her a high five. I was like, good job. I was like, keep up the hard work. It's like, next time you get it on your own. She was so happy.
Yeah.
I was like, that's an accomplishment all on something. I was like, that was worth every minute.
And it's worth more than any medal, and
Mhm.
that's what's amazing about it is like, once you do that, I mean, it's worth more than any medal to be able to see that joy on someone's face when you help them. I mean, it's
Oh,
like,
absolutely.
that's what I need. I need to see the joy on someone's face for helping them. I can't walk by and just be like, oh, well, sucks for you. I mean, that's just not my personality. And I think that was the hardest part when I did the competitive races, because I saw people struggling, and I'm like, but when you're running competitive and you have that red headband, you can't accept help. So
Right.
just like, just go. And that's the hardest part, honestly, when you run competitive, is just having that whole mental difference of, no, I can't help. But, and that's why I only run competitive occasionally. And it's only on the races where I know I'm out there alone. I'll get, like, I did San Antonio just recently, where I ran, I knew I was the only person there. I didn't know anybody else that was racing. So it's like, I'm fine with, but then I still had Tom Mamming was out there helping somebody, and I stopped and I'm like, Tom, do you need help? And he's like, no, we're good. And it's just like, but because I couldn't help myself, because for one, I love Tom. Tom is amazing. I mean, he just keeps doing race after race. I don't know how that guy does so many.
Every time he posts something, I was like, hey, Tom, you forgot to pick me up along the way.
Yeah.
I was like, we need to work on this.
Yeah. So I saw him in San Antonio, and he had a guy that was struggling, and I'm like, do you guys need help? And he's like, no, we got it. And it's just like, but then I still almost felt bad. Like, I almost wanted to go back to be like, hey, especially considering the second day when I'm wearing my More Heart Than Scars, jersey, I'm like, I kind of feel like I should go back, but But that was, San Antonio was weird too, because it was like you said, the laps that gave me the relapse and remembers of San Antonio, what a nightmare that was. Because the super, they called it the Ultra Super, because they found out like a week beforehand that they didn't have enough room for the super, so they just made it 2 laps of the sprint, and then added a couple extra obstacles. So it ended up being super with 54 obstacles.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. It was.
That sounds awful.
Oh, it was, but I was like, if I found out there was another one, I'd probably go. But it was awful, but in a way that's like, okay, I need to train harder, because by the time you finish the first lap, I think I missed 2 obstacles through that first lap, and I'm like, I'm doing good. Went to do the second lap, your arms are smoked, and now they're like, okay, now go do them all again. And then all of a sudden you start failing because your arms are smoked, but now I got to do 30 burpees for everyone I fail, so my arms are smoked more. By the time it came to like the bender, I had major issues because I couldn't even get like my right hand to grip around the bar to pull myself up. So I was almost having to like throw my whole arm up there to get it with my elbow to pull me up, because I couldn't get my hand to grip around it, because it just wanted, my hand would like hit it and you had to go bleh.
Right.
Yeah, that's not good,
No, not at all.
So it was definitely interesting, and I'm like, oh well, this is a new thing. And then I got to come back tomorrow and do the sprint and go for a 3rd lap. Great. Yeah, but we do that. That's why we do it. We want to test ourselves. We want to see what we can do. And I mean, like I said, you have those some weekends where you're just like, this is my weekend to see what I can do. But then there's the other ones where you're like, I'm going with the team. Let's all go. It's like the backdraft. You go, I go. We're all going.
Right.
So, which is amazing. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about? I mean, hearing your story is just amazing to hear, you go through all that, and not, because that's one of the hardest things, is you see someone go through that. And I've seen so many people just be like, nope, this is it. We're done. I'm done. all those plans I had, everything I was going to do. Well, now I've had this, now I have these issues. Now the medication's doing this and that. Now I'm done. And to see you just be like, no, now this is like, a true Spartan, a true obstacle course racer. You're like, this is just another obstacle for me to figure out how to get past, get
And
over, do whatever I have to do.
yeah, that's all it is. It's another obstacle. I mean, I've had so many setbacks. I mean, the treatments itself, like it did, like I said, it beat me down. It actually threw my thyroid off. So like I'm on thyroid medication for the rest of my life. I'm dealing with headache issues all the time now. They actually diagnosed me with like 2 different tension headaches or migraines or whatever you want to call them. So now I'm on a seizure medication and like 2 other medications. But like I keep getting knocked back down, but I right back up. It may be a week, it may be 2 weeks, but like I don't stop. I don't quit trying. So it's like you said, it's another obstacle. It sucks. It feels like you're starting over every time. And I mean, I have every excuse in the book just to throw in the towel and say screw it and not do anything at all. And that's what I tell people all the time. And like I throw that at my brother all the time because he's like, oh, I don't want to do this, I don't want to do this. I was like, listen. I was like, look at all the shit that I've just been through, and I'm still trying day to day. I was like, every day is not going to be perfect.
No.
It's like, you just got to pick up and you got to go. I was like, you get those voices in your head. I mean, it's a mental game too. You got to quit listening to this. That voice in your head is so strong.
Yes.
But it's right here. This is what you got to listen to. This is stronger than this.
Yeah.
And you got to remember that.
And that's why more heart than scars. You got to have more heart.
Right. So, just going through it, you got to, like, day to day, just keep pushing no matter how many times you get knocked down. It's going to be a struggle. I mean, if things were easy, everybody'd do it.
Yep.
But, some people want it more than others, and it's just, it depends how bad you want it. Yeah. This year, I had this year planned out. I know I'm finishing my race season with Central Florida. I plan on doing my first 2 age groups in Central Florida, and then finishing the season off with a sprint with more heart and scars, finishing off with my team to end the season off. And then going into next year, just taking on like the DECAs, trying to take a different route. I mean, I'm gonna still do like some OCRs and stuff, but I'm gonna try something different and save up for 2024. I want that to be my comeback OCR year because I want to go to Greece, but I need to work on other areas also. But no, got to quit having those setbacks and got to keep pushing. So until then, yeah, I just fight.
Well, which is amazing. I mean, that's one of the things, like I said, your story is inspirational for the fact that you have so many things thrown at you that like, hey, here's another excuse. And you're like, cool, I'm not taking it,
right.
and that's what's amazing about it. I mean, it's so inspiring to watch that, where someone, and I've seen, so many things with people like that, where the smallest little thing gets thrown at them, like, okay, I'm done, and I've been guilty of it. I've been guilty of it in the past. And, seeing someone like you who had so much thrown at her, and then she's like, yeah, okay, cool. You can try and stop me, but no, I'm continuing. I'm moving. I'm going forward. I'm going to kick ass.
Yeah. Cause I was not even 2 months after my last treatment. I was savage in December, 2 months after treatment. I didn't have no strength. I could barely breathe when I was running, but I was on that course.
Well, and I think that's what a lot of people may not understand when we're talking about this. We're not even a year out from you being finished with treatment, right?
No, we're going to 2 years. It'll be 2 years. 2 years in September.
So it'll be 2 years in September. So even then,
yes.
I mean, it's still, you're a year and a half out from cancer treatment, from everything else, and did Montana trifecta weekend. that is amazing. That's pushing yourself. Like you said, though, you even had them tell you were going too far, but it happens. I mean, it's one of those things for, people like you and, people in the true OCR people are like, no, this is what I do. You're not taking this from me, and you just kept doing it. So that's awesome. That's amazing. So I can't wait to meet you in person because you're inspiring as can be. So, which is awesome. I mean, I love seeing that, and I love seeing Spartans. That's why I love seeing Spartans and all OCR people is we have that mentality of, well, there's a, one of my favorites is, I don't know if you've ever seen Casey. He's over here on the West Coast a lot. He's no legs. Great guy. He has a thing Rise Up with Casey and all that. And I can remember even the first time I saw him, like I was totally wrecked. It's when I was bigger. I was almost, like 280, whatever. Came around a corner and I'm like, I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm quitting. And come around a corner and there's Casey, no legs, just going right along. And I'm like, well, guess I have no excuse anymore. So
yeah, I actually in Charlotte, I challenged myself. We didn't have any wheelchairs that weekend, and so I went. I on the Hercules hoist. I was like, I'm gonna do the men's bag. Did the men's bag, no problem. Up, down, no problem. So we get to the Atlas carry. I do the women's ball, carry that around. I look at the men's ball. I was like, I'm gonna give this a go. Took me a minute to get up. I looked that right up, carried it around, dropped it down. I was like, I have more strength than I think I do.
You're killing it. I mean, it's amazing. I mean, it's amazing to see, like I said, they threw obstacles at you and you're like, let's see what I can do with this, and not that it's easy. And I mean, I don't want to make people think that, I'm trying to say, no, it sounds like everything you went through. And I mean, we talked about it throughout this. I mean, it was a rough road, but when the road got bumpy, you just kept going. You're like, okay, it's going to be rough. It's going to be tough. I'm going to push through it. I'm going to keep going. And that's what amazes me with people like you. I mean, it's just, you're an inspiration. You did amazing. So
thank you.
All right. Well, unless you have anything else, we're almost to that hour where Dawn starts yelling at me. So all the listeners hear that every episode that Dawn's going to yell at me again. Probably. He's been yelling at me for 40 years. Whatever. But like I said, we met in preschool. We've been friends ever since. And this has always been, I'm the talker and he's the one that always has to deal with all the things that I do when I talk. So, so it's been amazing talking to you. Like I said, give Don a couple smacks this weekend when you see him. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person in Hawaii. We're definitely going to have to go out.
Yes, absolutely.
Do something. I mean, go for a run on the beach or something. I don't know. I don't drink till after the Spartans normally. So,
well, I don't drink, but I'll have a nice can of liquid death or something. Make it look like I'm drinking.
Yeah, those do look like a beer. Every time I see them, I'm like, it looks like
right.
So,
blend in with the crowd.
There you go. All right. Well, it's been amazing talking to you. Like I said, I can't wait to meet you in person. And we'll talk again soon.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the BeastNet podcast. If you haven't done it yet, find us on Facebook, like and share the podcast. Give us a review on iTunes or Spotify. All these things will help to expand the show in the future. Don't forget to subscribe and let us know what you think and what you'd like to hear.